at these graphs that we drew last session. So can you quickly match the line graphs with the right equation? Have a go quickly. Right, let's see. First of all, let's begin with the y equal minus x. When you have a negative number in front of your x, it has got different direction, right? And y equal x, we compared y equal x and y equal minus x. Then y equal 2x is more steeper than y equal x, and y equal half x is less steep. Now in this video we are going to learn about new terms, that is gradient. So gradient is really important when it comes to the line graph, and it means how steep a straight line is. So let's have a look at all of these lines, equation of lines. As you can notice, then 2, and then definitely 1, and then half. These are the gradient of the graph. It's always in front of the x. Then you have a greater gradient. Have a look at the graph. Once you've got a bigger number of your gradient, the line is steeper, right? So gradient is like a slope. Then it's getting even when you have a smaller number. Then now let's look at this one. Y equal minus n, y equal x. Then we drew all of these two graphs. As you can see, it is the same graph, but it's opposite direction. Then y equal x, we call this one as a positive gradient. Once your gradient is a positive number, we call it as a positive gradient. And then when you have a negative number on your gradient, it's negative gradient. So positive gradient, when your x is getting bigger, definitely your y, value of y is getting bigger as well. That's why it's a positive gradient. Then negative gradient, whenever you've got a minus in front of your gradient, your x increase, your y decrease. So it moves opposite way. That's why it's negative gradient. So remember, always check your gradient whether it's a plus or minus. Now, next thing we need to talk about it is the formula for gradients. So here, this is how you find out the gradient by looking at the graph. So gradient, you can find the total distance up divided by total distance cross. That means change in y-axis divided by change in x-axis. Think about how much you move up and down divided by how much you move on left and right. Definitely down is a minus, left is a negative. Have a look at this. You've got a blue graph. That's y equal 2x. We already know the equation, that's why gradient 2. But let's, if you don't know the equation, let's find the 2 point. Then see how much you move up and down and how much you move left and right. So let's see. First of all, I'm going to make it into the fraction. Okay, first check changes in x. 1, 2, you move to right. So that's why plus. Then you move 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So plus 4. So you've got a 4 out of 2. Simplify, it's 2. So see, your gradient is 2. Then now red graph, if you don't know the equation, how can you find the gradient? Let's find the 2 points. Any point looks convenient. Then figure it out. The changes in x, I move 2 right and 2 up. It's all positive position. So that's 1. Let's choose another point because the gradient is always the same. Then different 2 points. Let's see how it works. Then I move 3 to the right. Then 3 to the up. So plus the 3 plus 3. That's still 1. See? So gradient is 1. Let's have a look at another one. So first of all, to find the gradient, you need to choose the 2 points. Then count how many move to the left and right. To right, how many move to the up and down. That's half. let's choose another point. It's always the same. You move 4 right and 2 up. So simplifies half. This is the formula to finding the gradient. Then, now we've been talking about the gradient. Then, let's have a look at another graph. So, since we know that the red one is 2x, then we will draw the new linear graph y equal 2x plus 3. First of all, if you want to draw the graph, always find the coordinate of the point. So when x is 0, let's put 0 inside the equation. 2 times 0 plus 3, it gives you 3. Your y is 3. Your x is 1, let's put the 1 inside the x. That gives you 5. When your x is 2, 2 times 2 plus 3, it gives you 7. Let's plot all of these points. So let's join all of these points together. Then we can draw the straight line that is y equal 2x plus 3. So have a look at the y equal 2x graph. What's the difference and what's the same? Then just have this in your mind. We will come back to this equation. Then let me just draw one more graph and let's compare the 3 graphs all together. So now we drew the y equal 2x plus 3 graph. This time let's draw the y equal 2x minus 5. Then let's have a look at all of these 3 graphs together. So finding the table, when x is 0, put 0 inside the x, that gives you minus 5. Then when x is 1, then 2 times 1 minus 5, it gives you minus 3, 4. So 2 times 4 minus 5, that's 3. Now connect these points all together. Then we finally have our y equal 2x minus 5 graph. Then now let's put the y equal 2x plus 3 graph, y equal 2x, y equal 2x minus 5 graph together. Let's compare this graph all together. Then, what did you notice? What is the same and what is the difference? First of all, we've been talking about the gradient, right? So have a look at the numbers in front of the x. Then, it's all 2. So we know that the gradient of the graph, stiffness of the graph is 2. So as you can see, all of these 3 graphs are parallel to each other, right? Since the gradient is the same graph, you extend the graph, they never meet. So first, the one thing you need to remember is lines that are parallel have the same gradient. When you have a same gradient, that means lines they are parallel to each other, never meet. Then another thing we can see is, so let's focus on the difference between the lines. What is the difference? Have a look at it. It looks like you basically move y equal 2x graph to the upward or to the downward. So it looks like the 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 5 is a move up and down by the y equal 2x graph. So I'm going to circle the important numbers here. Look at your equation. You've got a 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3, minus 5, and plus 0. Then I'm going to introduce your new term that is called y-intercept. What does it mean by y-intercept? Y-intercept means where the graph and y-axis intersect together. So where the y-axis and graph they meeting together, that point is called the y-intercept. As you can see, you've got a 0,3 and you can see 0,0 and then you can see 0, minus 5. This is the standard form of the linear equation, that is y equal mx plus c. Then we're familiar with this m. M is gradient, right? The numbers in front of x is a gradient, and gradient means the slope, yeah, that is the steepness of the graph. Then the C is, we just talked about, that is y-intercept. That means where the y-axis and the graph meet together, the point is called the y-intercept. Then y-intercept is always a 0 point y-axis. So this standard form is really important. Using this standard form, we can draw the graph. So since you know the standard form, you don't need to find all the coordinate of the point anymore. Have a look at this one. We've got an equation y equals 3x plus 4. That always you need to find what's gradient, what's y-intercept. That's 3 and 4, right? Then using the gradient y-intercept, we can draw the graph. So let's begin with y-intercept, because y-intercept is a really easy start, because we know that y-intercept is where the graph and the y-axis meet. That is the point. Then the graph definitely goes through that point. Then thinking about the gradient. What's the formula for gradient? That is your changes in y and changes in x. So 3 means when you move 1 right, that means you move 3 up. That's the formula for the gradient, right? Then we can get new point. Then since you've got 2 points, to join them together, that's the line, right? So now we found our straight line graph. So y equals 3x plus 4 graph looks like this. Again, when you have a standard form of the equation, linear equation, identify your gradient, identify your y-intercept, then starting from the y-intercept, then find another point using the gradient. Let's practice more. We've got a y equals 4x minus 2. So you know that gradient is 4 and then y-intercept is minus 2. So always begins with y-intercept. That means 0, minus 2. The line goes through the 0, minus 2. Then let's go back to our gradient. Plus 4 means when you move 1 right, you move 4 up. That's the gradient. When you move 1 right, then you move 4 up. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got a new point. Let's connect them together. Then the line is y equals 4x minus 2 graph. This time, our equation is y equals minus 2x plus 1 is different. Be careful. Your gradient is minus 2 and your y-intercept is 1. So, always begins with your y-intercept that is 0, 1. And then, now let's use a gradient. Remember, minus. Be careful. So, minus 2 means you move. Let's say it's up to you. This time I'm going to say you move 1 right and 2 down. Yeah, 1 right, then 2 down. It gives you minus 2, right? Then you've got a point. Then you connect these points together. Again, so since you've got a minus gradient, if you want to move 1 left, then 2 up, that's still fine, because you can choose any points alongside with the graph. Then now this time you've got y equals minus 3 plus x. Oh, it looks a bit different. Always when you have an equation, try to organize it as a standard form. So you change this into y equals x minus 3. Then we can see the gradient is 1. Then y-intercept is a minus 3. So change the equation into the standard form. Then begins with the y-intercept, that's minus 3. Then move 1 means 1 right, 1 up. That's the gradient. Changes in x, changes in y. Then you can get the new point. Then you put them together. That's your graph y equals x minus 3. Then now look at this equation. Ooh, so first must change into y equal mx plus c. Standard form is super important since we can quickly find our gradient and y-intercept. So let's change it. So since you've got minus x, move to the other side. Then simply we got a standard form. Then your gradient is the number in front of x, and the y-intercept is minus 5. Begins with the minus 5. Then gradient 1 is 1 up, 1 right. Then let's connect the points together. Now, look at this one. 2x plus 6x plus equals 10. So again, y equal mx plus c is our standard form of linear equation. So 2y, move 6 to the other side. That means minus 6x plus 10. Then we only want y. So what we need to do? Divide by 2 for all the terms. Then y equals divide by 2 minus 3x divide by 2 gives you 5. Then this is our new equation. Y equal minus 3x plus 5. You know the gradient is minus 3. Y-intercept is 5. So begins with your y-intercept. So where the graph joined together, y-axis. Then gradient minus 3. I'm going to say this time, when you move 1 right, I'm going to move 3 down. That is the negative gradient, and we can see the new point. Then all you need to do is to connect these 2 points. So as you can see, negative gradient when x is getting bigger but y is getting smaller. Well done, this is the end of the video, and then I'm going to say this video is really important because we've been talking about the standard form of the linear equation, and also from there we figured out that gradient and y-intercept. Okay, so please explain what is the standard form of the linear equation, what is the gradient, and then what is the y-intercept. So if you can't clearly explain these things, please watch this video again. Then you can move on to the next video. So next video we are going to solve the challenging linear equation graph questions. So please make sure you understand all of this properly. Right, so I will see you at the next lesson. Bye.